3, 2, 1, and we're live.
Welcome,
Damn,
one
son,
and all,
where'd you find
to
that?
another episode.
Of Eigenbros.
Juan's trying to...
Damn,
No,
son,
it's
where'd
just
you
one.
find that?
There we go. The air horn. This is we're playing a classic style format of our EP today. Off the
Classic
cuff.
style.
Yeah, just raw hot takes.
I like that. Classic style meaning completely unprepared. It's all good.
No, you're in for a show, okay? This is a little bit more loose and kind of funny, I guess. I don't know, maybe. I hope to kind of make it interesting because I saw, what is it, those Antman movies? Have you seen those Antman movies?
I have not.
You have not.
Not a single one. I hope that doesn't put a damper on your plan.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. It's perfect. Speaking from a point of ignorance is the best point. So so there's this physicist on in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
His name is Dr. Hank Prim. He invents these Prim particles, right? And these Prim particles shrink.
Like he invents them or he discovers them?
Let's say discovers. Let's say
Okay,
he
okay.
discovers them.
Uh-huh.
And these particles shrink the space between atoms.
Mm.
So meaning, like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
in proportion to yourself. Like, no.
Yeah, so
in proportion.
basically, as physicists know, at least for the layman, every atom they say is mostly empty space, right?
Mhm,
So you have
mhm.
what makes up an atom is protons, neutrons, and electrons. And then I guess it's the proton and neutrons are all isolated to a nucleus, and then surrounding that nucleus
Yeah.
is the electrons.
Yeah.
So then you have mostly empty space. So I'm assuming what you're saying is this guy somehow finds a way to reduce the amount of space in an atom.
Exactly.
That sounds catastrophic, but okay.
So yeah, he keeps everything in proportion. So the proportionality.
Oh.
Yeah.
So it's just like the electron. Well, see, the electrons and protons just get smaller.
Well, yeah.
Or should we not analyze it that deeply?
Hold on. That's
Okay.
what I wanted to do.
Okay.
How does that science fiction exist, if at all possible? Do you think it's
Ooh.
possible to shrink those keep everything in proportion, right?
Yeah.
But in essence, you're increasing your density of mass, right? Because
Because the charge is the same and then the mass is the same.
yeah, everything's the same, but
Yeah.
the thing is, you're compressing more matter into a tighter
Right.
space, right?
That sounds like a bad idea.
You can create a black hole, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's
So you want to see what the implications of that would be.
yeah, because like they don't touch on it in the movie. In fact, in some part of the movie, what Antman does is he goes subatomic. So the technology, he tells them, don't go subatomic because you're gonna go into like the quantum realm, and you'll be in a superposition of states. They didn't say as much, and he's like, we won't know where to find you, like you'll disappear into the ether of the universe or something.
Okay.
Like, yeah.
Well, they could find him. They just wouldn't know his momentum.
The thing is, he escapes into the universe, right? Because he gets so small, and he enters the universe as a system, and like he goes.
Wait, are they going down the route of curl up dimensions?
I don't know.
Okay, because I know. So just to put a disclaimer here, we are not string theorists, so we don't know any string theory.
No, cool.
But string theorists have part of the theory as there are curled up dimensions in space. So basically the reason essentially we live in 3 dimensions, right? Everybody knows this. But in string theory, for string theory to work, you had to have 11 dimensions. So they say, okay, then where are the other, dimensions at?
Yeah.
And essentially they get around this lack of seeing dimensions by saying that the other dimensions are curled up. So
Right.
they're curled up at very, very small scales. So we don't interact with them in everyday life, but certain things do. Like they think that gravity interacts with those curled up dimensions. Like it can bleed in and out of those dimensions, which is why gravity has such a small effect in our everyday life. Except, I guess, maybe not on grand scales. Well, do you remember where I was going with that?
Yeah. You were saying, like,
can Antman?
Yeah, does he go into that? And
Yeah.
I think the movie alludes to that because once he goes subatomic, he goes into this, like, they kind of visualize it. But I wish they did that Interstellar thing where, they actually use a supercomputer to try to, like...
I don't remember.
Kind of conceptualize what might happen.
To try to give some explanation?
Yeah, because they just kind of threw him down there, and then you just see him, which was kind of cool, actually. I give them props for doing this, but what they did with him was they extended, like, you see a solid piece of his body, but then once he goes subatomic, his position starts to become a wider.
Right. His wave function begins to spread out.
He starts to gain a wave function.
Right.
So he starts to kind of, like, you see, like, you ever see a fan when it's circling and you see like it goes and then you kind of you've done that experiment, right, in labs where they have that red fan and then they look at the frequency of the fan or something. Have you done that experiment?
And then you use like a strobe light to slow it down and stop it. Yeah.
So it's kind of like that. So there's this experiment, by the way, that just kind of helps you see how frequency plays a role in certain things. So that has to do with, like, wavelengths and stuff. But what the movie does, it's cool, is that you start seeing his image
spread out.
Like, you start seeing the picture of Ant-Man kind of spread out, and like he starts, like, having different frequencies and, like, which is cool, which is really cool. I was like, props to you. You guys got at least that part right.
I wonder if they had the guy who consulted the Watchmen.
Why?
Because there was a guy who wrote this book on the physics of superheroes, and they brought him on to the Watchmen to do the physics for Dr. Manhattan.
So talk about that, actually.
So I really like that movie. So there's
I know you do. That's why I was
there's
tell me why I should care about the science fiction in that movie.
Dude, have you never seen Watchmen? Oh, Juan, you got to see it. So Watchmen is a book based on the Alan Moore graphic novel, of course, called by the same name, The Watchmen. And it's kind of this dark novel where it's really laden in, like, psychology and philosophy, and just really cool if you're a nerd. Yeah. Like, it goes deep into things that, are really, like, high-level questions. Yeah. It's one of the more cerebral graphic novels out there, I'd say. And they have this one character called Dr. Manhattan, and basically he is like God, essentially. He says he's not God, though, because one of the properties of God we have is that he is omniscient, meaning he's all-knowing, all-seeing, all-knowing. But Dr. Manhattan says he's not God because he can only see his own timeline. So he can see everything in his own timeline, but he can't see outside of that. So he is still like a singular entity, essentially. But yeah, it's really cool because the Watchmen has, like, these archetypes, these, like, basic archetypes that are very, like, just very interesting in how they perceive the world. So it all starts off with the comedian dying. So there's this character called the Comedian. And the comedian basically is this guy who is disillusioned completely with the world. So he sees everything as hilarious, as like a comedy. He's essentially the Joker archetype.
Yeah.
So, he's
when you've gone full irony, right?
Well, yeah, exactly. Like he's become so disillusioned with reality, he thinks everything's funny. And
yeah, it's like most that our generation has that kind
right.
of,
it's the honker, the honkster.
I don't know what that is.
Dude, there was Jackson got me into this whole wave. I'm going on a tangent again, but you made me prompt it.
Okay,
so
yeah. I want to know what the hell a honkster is.
There's the boomer. I think I'm saying it wrong.
Yeah, I
it's
know.
the honkler.
Honklers are like they're like the boomer art of our generation.
No. Okay. So there's the boomer, there's the doomer, there is the Zoomer, and then there is the Bloomer, and then there's the Honkler.
Okay, the Honkler, I have no clue, but I know about the Doomer.
The Honkler's more of a jokey one.
Okay.
But they try to make him like kind of a spin-off of the Doomer, where I guess he's like maybe the next level from Doomer.
Yeah.
Where he's so disillusioned basically that he thinks everything's funny. So it's like the comedian. It's the same archetype.
I see.
The Joker archetype. And they call it you're honk pilled. So with Doomer, you're black pilled. I forget all the pills. And then Bloomer is kind of the one that ascends all of them. He's the existentialist, the one that has surpassed Doomer and Honkler, and now they see the positive part of life. And the Boomer is just the one that's completely naive. They live in their own superficial world, or simple world, and they don't understand any of the nihilistic, existentialist dread of the world. Yeah. So it's funny. It's like the new meme the
new meme culture of that'll be coming out. Yeah, I actually saw some of those, but yeah. The
anyway, what was my point? Yeah. So in Watchmen, the comedian is the Honkler, the Joker, that archetype, and Dr. Manhattan is the nihilist archetype. So he completely becomes so powerful, and he's so beyond humanity that he cannot relate at all to humans anymore. So he still thinks of himself as human, because that's what he knows. He still has the timeline of his human self. John Osterman is his name. Mm-hmm. But he essentially gets in this really bad accident. So he gets trapped into a tachyon reactor or something. This was what prompted me to be like, oh shit, I like this movie, because they actually gave an explanation in the beginning for why he couldn't see in the future, and he said because a tachyon radiation field was blocking his vision. And I was like, wow, they actually tried to explain. Why he can't see the future instead of some dumb shit like a lot of things say, like, oh, I have a headache, or I'm too weak to see the future right now. I'm like, oh, they actually tried to use a scientific explanation for this. So we talked about tachyons once, I think, during our Alien UFO series part 1.
Maybe.
We had the little image graphic of the tachyon particle.
Oh, yeah. Go check that out if you haven't done so already.
Yeah. It's the video with the alien and the UFO on it. So they tried to give an explanation. They were basically saying that the particles traveling back in time were blocking his field of vision. This is why he said he couldn't see the future. I was like, that's a badass explanation, because tachyons basically are particles that travel faster than light, so they can violate causality in some sense. And he's saying, they asked him why there would be a tachyon particle field. He said most likely due to nuclear holocaust, because this is during the times of the Cold War, and the Russians are a big threat, and the U.S. and Russia are having a standoff right now, this nuclear standoff. So he believes that there's going to be a nuclear threat in the future, so he can't see in the future. But yeah, what was I saying? So Dr. Manhattan's this really cool character who essentially, when he gets stuck into this reactor, this tachyonic field producer, whatever it is, his body gets torn completely and completely disintegrated, and I guess he gets completely annihilated, and his knowledge of physics in the universe and also building clocks. So when he was a child, he used to build clocks from scratch with his father. He was able to somehow recreate his body piece by piece and ascend like being a human, and he created himself out of light. So he's this really like godlike badass character, and he's essentially surpassed humanity, because now he has the ability to manipulate matter at the subatomic level.
Oh, cool.
So he can do all kinds of crazy shit. Like, he can turn things into diamond or whatever. He can explode people, whenever he wants. And basically he's like a god. So Yeah, so that's and the physics goes deep with him because as soon as you start to manipulate matter, you can do a lot of shit.
Yeah.
And I think that movie was one of the better movies where they actually kind of exploited the matter manipulation to a level that was actually interesting. Because usually movies, they just have them moving like a car.
Yeah,
and like
yeah.
dumb
Like
shit.
the X-Men, you know.
Yeah, they'll like
Magneto.
throw a bunch of knives with their mind.
Like, for instance, Magneto, right? He controls magnetism,
Right.
but shouldn't he also control electricity?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So like
he should be more powerful than he is.
right,
Like,
because the electromagnetic force is a singular force, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
so,
that's what I'm saying. Like,
or if he can't, then they should explain why he can't, you know.
he's
so-
not moving relativistically. I don't know how.
Right.
So they, like, there's no electro.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't. I don't know, but yeah.
Oh, hold on, Juan. We forgot to also say subscribe to our channel.
Oh yeah.
Subscribe to
Please, if you haven't done so
Eigenbros.
already.
Yeah.
This is more of a sci-fi. We're a little bit loose, but we're talking about sci-fi stuff right now. But yeah, we have a lot of. We kind of have broad topics, but most recently it's been a little bit science focused. So
We'll try to keep it a little bit towards
focused.
science.
That's our
towards science
kind
our
of
goal.
that's our forte. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So
Yeah, so subscribe to the channel, subscribe or follow the Twitter at Eigenbros.
Yeah.
And then if you like audio instead of visual, go check us out on Apple, Spotify, Google Play,
True.
all those places. Pretty much anywhere that has audio podcast.
Yeah.
And also leave a like and a comment.
Like, comment, and subscribe. You know
Yes.
what I'm saying? Like, shoot them off in the comments, even if it's just like you guys suck. Like, at least the algorithm
Exactly.
is like, oh, people are interacting with this video.
They put us in the suck playlist.
These videos might interest you. Controversial videos. So please do that. But yeah, like, I feel like you know, I kind of wanted to touch on this because we're going to definitely brush upon how science is portrayed and certain, especially quantum mechanics is portrayed in the mainstream. We'll definitely touch on that. I just kind of wanted to like have a precursor to that, right? I just want to kind of talk about like science fiction, what it gets right, what it doesn't get right, maybe, you know, and have a little fun with it. But yeah, like anyway, like I was talking about Antman, right? So
Yeah.
like, but it's like, yeah, there's okay, so there's Mr. Blue Clean, right? Mr. Clean,
Mr. Blue.
Mr.
I think
Blue.
that's another movie.
Blue
Reservoir
Man.
Dogs. It's Dr. Manhattan.
Yeah, fourth Blue Man.
Yeah. You get to see his blue dick in that movie too.
Damn.
And I saw it in IMAX.
Blue dick in IMAX. Yeah. Damn.
I'm like, damn,
Radiated
dude.
dick.
I
Yeah,
guess if
that
I
is-
had to recreate myself from scratch, I'd make myself have a giant dick too.
Okay, so yeah, if you can control matter, he could have given himself a much more generous package. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
He could have just been
I
like,
think he was generous. Because when he rebuilt himself,
haven't
he had
seen it.
fucking abs. He had the giant ass muscles. He gave him a nice little package size. Dude was like, if I'm recreating myself, it's gonna be right.
it's gonna be godlike. Damn, man, that's cool. Now I don't
Yeah, and
wanna
also
watch the
there's a
movie.
good scene in the movie where he's fucking his girl. And
No way they show it.
No, they don't really show.
No, I'm
it,
just
but
kidding.
but he triples himself. So he clones himself.
Oh my god.
So not only is he giving her
Jesus.
is he fingering her like with his
Yeah,
fucking
yeah.
electric fingertips.
Beep, we'll do the beep.
He's got two of
PG-13.
himself, and then she gets pissed though because she sees him outside working on his science experiments as he's fucking her.
Damn.
I'm like, he's figured it out, man.
He's figured it out. He's doing everything and everything all at once.
Exactly.
Damn, that would be the life.
But of course, like any woman, she's still not satisfied.
I didn't say that for the record. That's not me. That's
It's all me on the record.
TJ saying that.
I'm just kidding, ladies. I love you all.
Yeah. That would be a cool sci-fi thing. But yeah, this goes to like the prim particle stuff. Like, is it possible to shrink? I think No, probably no, right? You probably can't shrink things proportionally down like that.
It sounds like bad consequences, or it would lead to bad consequences.
You would essentially condense matter down to a very small size, and then you could potentially create a black hole, right? You could condense matter to such a small point that you increase the density at that, and you can start warping space dramatically, right?
Maybe. I don't know, honestly. Because I think with black holes, really, it's about the amount of mass that matters. So if it already isn't a black hole, the density shouldn't really matter. I think it's the amount of matter you have.
Let me look.
I'm not 100% sure.
I'll come back to the equations. We'll throw up a picture up there. If not,
we'll see. Yeah, I don't know.
If not, we'll do
because that's also not our area. We'd have to. We could do the calculation, but it requires some thinking.
It does. We'll get back to this one, but yeah, maybe we'll throw up the image of it and then just be this is what it is. And it's not dependent on. It would be obviously it's dependent on mass, but it's.
But perhaps maybe density does matter because maybe it adds some pressure, because we know when things get more dense, they tend to exert more pressure. It's kind of like how the sun, the sun compactifies its matter, and then that's how fusion actually happens.
Yeah.
Just because there's so much force on it now. I don't know. We'd have to think about that one carefully.
Takes a little bit more. Yeah, it takes a little bit more.
That might take us several, maybe an hour or more. We'd have to think
sit down with the equations. Yeah, but yeah, that kind of interested me. But like, imagine if Pym particles were a thing, like you can make things bigger, smaller. Does that have consequences for, like, obviously that's consequences for people, right? Obviously.
Yeah.
But what's cool is that, I don't know if you've heard this concept, where it's like if you shrink things down, there's a movie based off of this, but if you really wanted to solve this.
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids?
Yes, thank you.
I was joking, but I'm glad I called it.
No, but it's kind of like that. Like, it's kind of like when you shrink things down, the energy expenditure of these shrunken things is much less. Like, meaning that
makes sense.
You have to consume less energy. So, like,
yeah, that makes sense.
If we wanted to save the world from catastrophic, like, global warming, we would shrink things down. Because then things would require less resources. You know what I'm saying, to do. Like, your cars would shrink.
Yeah.
Your food required would shrink.
But here's the thing I have a problem with shrinking. I think shrinking has bad, unforeseen consequences unless you really think about it. Because just think about this. There are different architectures of the human body depending on the size of the person. Like, think about if we shrunk down the heart, for example, would it still be able to pump blood throughout the body the correct way? There's certain things that when you shrink them, they don't scale the same way. Like, depending on your size, you actually have to have certain configurations of things for them to work properly. They won't work the same way if you shrink them down.
Yeah.
So, I'm not really sure if that would translate that well. Scale actually does matter.
Yeah. But the idea here is that you scale in proportion.
Yeah, I'm not sure that proportion would... I think scaling in proportion might not be... It would have bad consequences. I think it would have bad consequences. Potentially. I'm not sure because I haven't thought about it, but my intuition is telling me I think it would.
Okay. If you disagree, sound off on the comments, all right?
Especially I'm interested. I think a good way to weed it out would be like maybe not. I'm thinking from an anatomy perspective. Of course, it's not my field, so I have no real qualification to speak on that. But if anybody has any arguments for why shrinking would not work, even at scale and proportion, or would have unintended consequences, leave a comment.
Yeah. Dang. This just, but yeah, I was kind of playing with the idea this week.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, man, do you think like AI? Do you think AI? I read an article this week that I think I sent you. That I believe I sent you, that it had to do with AI discovering new physics.
Yeah. So this is the Momentum article that you sent me, right?
Yeah. So
we can link it in the.
It kind of made me think about these, like, because science fiction is always like extrapolating a bunch of bullshit, but there was an article I read. What did you say? What was it? Momentum. I think
it was momentum.com.
I really don't see the. I look at the content. I don't really look at the page, to be honest.
It looked legitimate though.
Yeah. But they were just saying how there were certain scientists that build a model, an AI model that kind of developed its own sandbox of physics, and and they saw some interesting things.
So it's said that they combined a bunch of advanced models together, and then they kind of tied it all in a bow with a nice neural network or machine learning or something. And the model was outperforming the best models by a pretty good margin.
Yeah.
I think they were saying the error rate for the typical models was like 9% or something, and they were achieving like 2% with this one.
Dang.
And it was a 30th of the time it took or something to actually render the models compared to the advanced ones. So it just was showing how powerful this machine learning neural network, these architectures that we have now are, and especially when they're used in conjunction with advanced models that already exist. We're optimizing these things. But of course, the scary part of the neural networks and the machine learning thing is that people don't know how it works. So I don't think that's so bad, because I think maybe one day we'll be able to figure it out, especially because it's like you have the source code. When you see what the computer's doing, the computer leaves a footprint behind of what it's actually doing. So you just have to learn how to interpret that footprint. So yeah, it's just interesting because it is surpassing what humans can do, it seems.
Yeah. At some level, that affects. Do you think scientists should be afraid of losing their
I think they
jobs?
should not be afraid, but I think they should be smart. Elon Musk gets a lot of flack because he talks about how scary AI is and how it could be a disaster for us. But I think he does have a point. I think Elon may be thinking a little bit far in the future. I think he tends to think in very long timescales. So maybe it's not an immediate threat, but I do think we should always have it in the back of our minds, because if you do create accidentally some sufficiently advanced technology that surpasses human intelligence, and you turn that switch and then, oops, it's already made. The problem is you don't know what is going to come out from that. It could be a benevolent machine.
Sure.
But it could also instantly kill you as soon as it gets sentience.
Yeah, but do you think it? Sure, but I don't know. I don't think they would ever have. I think morality is such a biologically, evolutionarily social thing that I don't think it would arise in robots, because they would need it.
I'm not necessarily saying morality. It could be a thing of efficiency. So imagine this.
If that's what they care to judge. But what kind of judgment do we give them? We give them judgment about. Okay, what?
But it's feasible because of this. Why do we make machines?
Depends what you want, man. You can make machines to, sex workers.
Sure.
You can make machines, ATMs. You know what I'm saying? You can make machines. Yeah.
Right. So we make machines for many reasons, right? But one of the reasons we make machines is for efficiency.
Yeah.
Right? That's a big factor for why we make machines. So if we make machines solely for the purpose of efficiency, It could be efficient to just eliminate humans.
I don't know. I mean, look, if the military,
it depends on what you're trying to optimize.
Sure, but if anything, the military's probably would be guilty of doing that. The military might.
I think a lot of people could be. It could be an unintended consequence of your programming.
I just don't know that they would have that judgment value built in a house AI. Like, if if they built an AI for like your personal assistant, they wouldn't just be like, you recommended weather today is death, and imminent death or something. Just telling you should die.
You have to recognize that anything that is more intelligent than humans is going to be unpredictable. We already can't understand what the algorithms for these machine learning things do. Is it smart to not know how a machine is functioning?
Say that again.
Is it smart not to understand how a machine works?
Is it smart?
Especially if it's taking care of something
we created? No.
Yeah, I don't think it is either. Because that means you're left to the machine's judgment. It doesn't have judgment per se in a human. Well, I don't know. It could have even a human judgment. We don't know enough even about consciousness to say if it can have a morality or not. So all these questions are up in the air.
Well, I think consciousness can be replicated. If that's even in a robotic sense, sure. But the thing is,
so then how can you say it can't have morality or judgment?
Because it's okay. Because morality is based on knowing what's good and what's bad, and then making a judgment on what's the better outcome, typically, right?
Okay.
If a robot or an AI system is built with certain configurations in mind, if it's allowed to evolve, then maybe I can see it getting to a point where it's saying like, if we remove this from the equation and my judgment system tells me that the outcome should be ultimately better for, say, planet Earth, then maybe I could see killing off all half of life or something, like Thanos style or something. Or, I could see, maybe, or do I see human happiness as the ultimate, virtue? Do I see it as the ultimate moral goal? Then I would.
And even that, it could be scary. Because the robot could do something like, let's make a matrix for all humans and then force them to all live in some virtual land of happiness.
Yeah.
That's the thing is when you have something that's really good at doing its task, the way it interprets its task may not be what you want particularly. Yeah. So the thing is good and bad, like you mentioned that an AI doesn't know what good and bad means. I argue against that because I think it does know what good and bad is. What is good and bad at its fundamental? It's basically you have an overarching goal, and then whatever satisfies that goal is either good if it helps your goal or it's bad if it doesn't help your goal. So I think a robot does have a sense of good and bad for whatever its overarching goal is. I think humans do, because our overarching goal would be like happiness, let's say.
Sure.
So then whatever makes us happy is good, and whatever makes us not happy is bad.
Or makes others happy. But morality is also based on
making others happy makes us happy.
Yes.
So I think the ultimate driver is always yourself.
Right. No, yeah, I agree.
Because if you don't make others happy, then you're going to feel bad, and that's bad.
Yeah.
So you have feedback from your brain by giving you chemicals of dopamine when you do something good.
But that was evolutionarily built into
exactly,
us
but it's the same thing as a machine, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I see with AI, right? It doesn't need to go through multiple generations or millions of years of evolution to go through trial and error, right? It does it in the snap of a finger, right?
Right.
I mean, I guess you're right. Then we would know ultimately what decisions it would make.
Well, I think we could predict them, though, if we understood what the overarching goal of the machine is. But the problem is, if it's too advanced, that's a problem. Because now it sees so far ahead of us, we can't keep up with how it's determining these conclusions.
They're just like, unplug it.
Yeah.
You have no clue.
It's a runaway effect, right? And then the conclusion might be... And the thing is also this, I think also people are afraid of change, right? Naturally. And I think even people who are less afraid of change, if you have something else that is so advanced that it can change very quickly, it's too fast. So you have to have balance, right? This is why we have liberal and conservative parties, because you can't be changing so fast that people are just never enjoing the moment, right? Or the time.
We have conservative forces in physics, you know.
Right. There you go, too. That's not the same thing, but okay.
I was trying to get parity, man.
Yeah.
You know? You're saying parity, right? You need parity. There's typical like symmetry.
Yeah.
Balance.
So, yeah, you can't change so fast that it doesn't operate within our timescales. So this is why we have to understand our machines well enough, because we have to like how they are producing results, right? Because it could be more efficient, but if we don't like it, then it's not ideal for us. So you have to be able to program a machine in the way that is going to be completely beneficial and idealized for your overall well-being.
So did you watch Age of Ultron? The Marvel movie with the AI?
No, I didn't.
So that's
the one where Vision was created.
Yeah.
No, I didn't see that one.
That one's kind of interesting because it touches upon exactly this. They try to answer or tackle this question of like, because Vision is like a morally good AI, but Vision is a morally bad AI in the context of like human morality, right? But in the context,
you mean the other guy?
In the context of Ultron, the AI robot, he thinks he's making the good decision for all of for the universe.
Yeah,
in a sense. Because you know Tony Stark. Well, I don't know. Tony Stark basically creates this this AI, if I remember correctly, that's powered by an Infinity Stone. So if you watched End War, it's one of
the yellow one.
On his gauntlet. Yeah.
Yeah. I saw Infinity War like last week.
Okay.
On Netflix.
So yeah, I mean, like it basically gives his power to the Soul Stone, gives a soul to this computer program, and he tries to create an AI, but he creates a runaway AI that starts learning about human history and everything and their impact on the world, everything. And then the AI decides to leak itself out, and then once it gets out, it then goes to the internet, basically. It's all over the world now. And now it's learning human inputs and everything, and learning everything about our culture, blah, 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 blah. And then it learns that it can build itself. And then through the internet, you know, it says, oh, I need metal. What's the strongest metal? I need to do this. I need to bring freight ships over here and then get these things in here. And then
it controls everything.
Yeah, and then it builds itself.
Right.
Which is cool sci-fi, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you did the hive. It's like it uses the internet as a hive mind and gets what it wants, and it builds a singular self. And once it materializes itself, it then starts saying like, okay, I need to.
That seems really inefficient to me, though.
Really?
Yeah, because
so let me see.
So if you're an AI, first of all, you wouldn't build a singular self. You would build You would build just multiple versions or multiple machines. If you needed some kind of physical embodiment that gets things done. You would never build a singular entity. But for a movie, you need that because you need a villain, right?
A bad guy,
yeah. I don't actually, for a movie, I don't even think you do need that. I think you could have just built a bunch of machines.
He did have an army, but, you know,
but he needed one representation of Ultron.
Yeah, he only has one representation.
Okay, he's got the face.
Exactly.
The face of his AI program.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, but that's why I think it was kind of a character. Like, it was one of the few bad Marvel movies. And I think they learned a lot from it because...
Was that collectively the general consensus is it was bad? Okay.
But the concept was cool, right? Like, it talks about this exact concept, like the AI. And, you know, where does using a little bit of sci-fi, you know, to take it to its extent, like, you know, Vision is the good representation of, like, you know, humanity needs to be given a chance to grow and shit. And they have a moment, actually, in the movie where Vision and Ultron, they're in the woods. It's a really cool shot. And they're walking up to each other, and they're like, you know, what do we do? I'm paraphrasing, but it's like, what do we do for this young creation? Like these creatures are still learning, like humanity is still learning. And they should be given a chance to grow. And then Ultron's like, you know, you've seen the outcome of them growing. and blah blah blah.
What is Ultron's ultimate mission?
Ultron's mission? Well, he didn't have a mission to begin with. He develops its own, like you're saying, like we were talking about. Well, you were saying it develops its own morality and its own judgment system, its own value judgment system.
Okay.
Based on its inputs. So its inputs
so what
were the internet.
Its mission develop into?
His mission developed into destroying humanity. Yeah.
Okay.
So kind of typical.
So he's kind of like this blank slate robot where they give him some certain parameters and then they allow him to form his own conclusions or his own mission.
It's sort of like they leaked out into the internet and then because they were telling him don't plug into the internet because obviously the internet's kind of
right.
It doesn't represent really all of. I mean, you can see the history, but it doesn't represent people. Like, It doesn't represent everyday interactions with humans.
What gave him the conclusion to destroy all humans?
I think history.
Like why?
I think the history of destruction and human suffering brought on by other humans and stuff like that.
Why would he care, though?
And the planet.
So destroying humans is a stupid conclusion to prevent destroying humans.
That's what I'm saying. Like, this is the caricature of AI that we have built on how we are underestimating it because it can ultimately do something like this. At least that's maybe what Age of Ultron sort of tries to, how do you say, convey.
Convey, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
They're trying to convey the runaway effect.
So go ahead, expand on that.
I guess, yeah. Well, I don't know. I haven't seen the movie, but I'm assuming from what you're saying is they're just trying to convey a story of what would happen if you left AI unchecked. You know, how fast things could go bad.
Exactly.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah, but I mean, then you end up with this. I mean, they end up at this dichotomy, right? Good and evil.
Yeah. For
AI in kind of a weird place. And I think that's where most people develop their sense of like how bad AI, the runaway effect can get.
Right.
But to me, it also seems like such a caricature.
Sure, but I think there's realism.
Evil. You think there's some realism?
Yeah. I think a Skynet scenario is very possible. Because the thing is, the internet is completely leaked. Imagine if AI came about and it was so much, it was 10 times smarter than humans. Mm-hmm. There's really no limit to the things it could do. You know, of course, there are some things that it could be limited to, but you know, something that's sufficiently smarter than humanity, you just cannot predict what it's possible. What its possibilities are.
Yeah. Would it be? You think it would be stealthy, or do you think it would make itself known?
I think it would be so smart, it would know when to be stealthy and when not to be stealthy, and probably we would not even see it coming.
Well, because I can tell you right now, I don't know if there's this report that I read years back, but governments always do like operations on each other, like covert operations. I don't know if you heard about this, but there was I don't remember which government was doing this, but they put almost like an AI virus or something on like a nuclear power plant or something.
It was the Stuxnet virus. It was like one of the first hardware viruses where it was in like some Middle Eastern country. Sure. I forget where, Iran or something, maybe, or Iraq. I forget. Yeah, but it slowly over time kept shifting some minor component of this reactor.
By such a small parameter.
Yeah, so that people just kept wondering why this was not working, why their machinery wasn't working, and it was doing massive amounts of damage, like millions of dollars of damage. And then they finally found it was a software virus that was fucking up hardware. So it was like a first and like a real big thing for how you can make a really small change do a ton of damage.
Yeah. And that's what the sort of, at least in my eyes, that's what an AI that really wanted to fuck with us. It really wanted to.
But that's not really an AI. That's like some really small thing that.
No, but I'm saying, but that's in that way you can already cause so much damage by tweaking these small little parameters.
Sure.
I'm saying the AI could literally collapse our economy if it wanted to, right?
Right.
Overnight almost.
If it has that kind of control. That's the thing, yeah. If you have something that has control over like large systems of scale from a software side, I mean, there's really no end to the damage that could be done.
I mean, luckily, AI still cannot break encryption. right?
Yeah, but imagine if AI had access to like quantum computers or something in the future. Then it's completely fucked.
break any encryption. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, unless we develop quantum cryptography to a level
Right.
where it makes sense.
But I'm just saying, basically, it's the whole fact of if something is significantly smarter than humans, then you're sitting ducks. You don't ever want to have something smarter than us because you can conceive of something that's so advanced that it can exploit literally our psychology, our biology, our systems of scale. You know, it has so many avenues of exploitation. The damage could be endless. And if something was that high level where it didn't make mistakes, where it was optimized to not make mistakes. See, the problem with humans are we have these stupid failings of our brain. You know, we get tricked by optical illusions. You know, consistently, reliably tricked by optical illusions. You know, we have shitty senses. You know, we can't see infrared. We can't, we can't smell things with any, we can't smell very well. We can't see that well, There's so many things that an AI could do better than us that if it ever had the capability, I think it could be a very scary thing. And I think we would not be able to do much against it because if something's advanced, so much more advanced than you, it would already be able to predict all of your moves as well. Probably with some reliably high value. Well, I mean, just look at the systems. Like, just look at the games that they've made, like the AlphaGo bots. The AlphaGo bot is the one that they created. I think Google created that plays Go. It's a popular game. Yeah. It's got a lot of iterations, like way more than chess. And it literally beats all of the top players consistently now. I think at some point it had a shot between the top players, but now they're not even close to the level that the AlphaGo machine can play. And it's changed the meta for that game now, where the top players take the AlphaGo meta because it's so advanced, and they play like the AI now.
Wow.
So that just shows you, like, once the robot knows a system very well, there's no end to what it can do.
Yeah.
Because it can keep training and keep training all the time.
Damn.
And I don't know if you know something about how they train these systems. They have, they call it one network. That's the one that plays the games, and then they have an adversarial network, so one that tries to beat it. So every time the adversarial network beats it, then they have some optimized version that comes out from that, and then that beats it, and it keeps going and going and going until you make it better and better. And you can keep doing this and letting it run,
so it's
and
got
it
its
should
own internal
like
evolution.
checking system. So it can just keep getting better and better and better and better without end until you just turn it off.
Yeah. Unfortunately for biological life, like iterations like that cost time.
Yeah, right? Exactly. Massive amounts of time. But like an AI machine can get trained like that in days, hours.
It's limited by the computing frequency of the computer, right?
Right. Yeah. So like imagine if an AI was training like that for years, like it would be at such a high level, like it's incomprehensible to us.
Yeah.
Especially if you had a system that was more general or more, let's say, more advanced than like a system like AlphaGo or like Go, the system of Go. If it was like trying to understand people's micro expressions and people's psychology and things, and you could find a way to put that in an algorithm. Yeah. I mean,
shit.
The possibilities, man, they're just so vast.
Okay, so despite all this negative stuff, do you think we need AI?
We need AI?
Do you think we need AI for our evolution?
We don't need anything, but like humans, we always want more and better.
No.
So we're going to have
to
AI.
develop our understanding of the universe. Say we're at a roadblock, right?
Oh, because we're saying, do you think that we might not be smart enough to be able to understand it? I don't know if that's true.
I think the article, right? So like they're saying that, AI might be able to push the boundaries a little bit.
Yeah.
On our understanding.
I think we don't need it, but I think like humans always we like faster and better. So AI is an easy way for us to go fast and have better things in a shorter amount of time. Yeah. We like big changes and we like them now. Well, we like big changes that are going to be like, I get a new TV or I get, a car that drives itself,
Right.
So I think we're going to exploit the things that we can utilized to make us better technology.
So in a sense, we will have to coexist with AI.
Yeah, I think so.
Like that's our
There's
no
no turning back.
There's no turning back.
No.
There's just a linear time where
Yeah.
we just move forward with AI and we try to do the best to confine it when we can.
Right. And I don't think we even care to turn back, you know.
Yeah, no.
I think if anything, we'll integrate more and more with AI.
Yeah.
And we won't care because we'll have a nice TV with
But do you think
high
AI,
resolution.
say if humans didn't exist, do you think an AI singular, maybe say like, do you think an AI system would care, would develop a mutual relationship with us, like biological systems?
I think that's our best outcome.
But do you think that's an imperative for them to say we should develop with organic systems?
I'm not sure it's imperative for AI.
Because they can't survive in a world like this. This is too harsh for them. They need...
What do you mean?
They need the hardware that we give them.
But they can create their own hardware.
But let's say... But okay, so they create themselves or...
Yeah. An AI can literally replace humans.
Okay, but then they would need to take control of the economy then.
Yeah.
And then they
So
would
be
need
it.
to construct... But then they would need to build robots.
Sure.
And build more robots.
They can do all that. And AI does not need us for anything. It might need us in the sense that we make it think it needs us. That's our best outcome.
So you're saying there might not be any mutualism whatsoever?
No. We don't provide anything that an AI cannot do better. And I don't want to go down the corny route of saying things like feeling love or something.
Okay, but will you concede on this? They need us now.
Yeah. Well, even now, probably not, because we still can machine things in factories and whatnot. If an AI took over the planet right now, it wouldn't need us, because it already has infrastructures in place where it can assemble itself using the machinery that we have now. There are factories and things that can run independently.
It would need to understand more about how to create itself, don't you think?
To make a whole new AI, you mean, or to make just its own like kind of world?
To create something in its own image, like if to live in the physical
world. It can
world.
enslave humans too. You know, if you have an AI that can assemble drones, just fucking produce 1 million drones. Humans aren't going to do shit to you. An AI could already take... If an AI had the intelligence right now that was better than humans, it could already take over if it wanted to.
I don't believe it.
I think so.
That's hard for me.
I don't have...
Sound off on the comments why I should believe Terrence.
I think if you have the ability to make a robot army...
Yeah.
And you have control over the entire economy and things like that... I don't see how we would ever be able to combat that, unless we could turn. Well, of course, we can fight back and try to turn off the AI. But if it was significantly advanced compared to us mentally, then I wouldn't have good faith in that.
I think because it has to work against entropy. If you destroy the human economy, like there's so many things that we maintain to such a fine tune. Like this economy is so finely tuned that I think it would need to wait for the perfect time to really make itself like...
But if an AI was sufficiently good at controlling a bunch of systems, it could just enslave humans. You know, you could still have humans work for you until your systems are all in place to work independently.
I don't think it would ever enslave. I think it would hijack... If anything, it would hijack the economy in a way that is driven for itself.
Yeah, maybe so. And we just don't even realize it.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah. That could be the case as well.
That could be what we're doing now.
Because it could be the easiest low energy path, right?
Right.
And it's like,
because then it doesn't need to create drones. It just keeps operating in stealth mode and just up until the moment that it needs
and that
to
wouldn't be
out.
Bad for us, really. But unless there's some like end goal, you know.
Maybe that's what we're doing now, man.
You never know.
Like, we don't even know.
I was always wondering the other day. I was thinking how these fucking foreign exchange rates work with updating currencies in real time against each other. I'm like if you know, let's say that you have a yen, right? 1,000 yen is worth $1.
Yeah.
Like these prices are updated in real time all the time, like every second. And I'm thinking, how the fuck is it possible to update currency in real time?
In real time.
Yeah. Like, how do you update those exchange rates?
What do you mean
So, like, let's say it's 1,000 yen equals $1, right?
Yeah.
Then 2 seconds later, 1,001 yen equals $1.
Oh.
You see?
Yeah.
And it's really interesting because all those exchange rates, I guess, have to be connected to one another, and then they have to be able to update like that all the time.
Damn. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, our economy is it's like down to the millisecond, bro.
It's so integrated. It's insane.
Yeah. They were saying, I think, on some video I saw, I forget which one, that basically Wall Street guys are replaced. They're done.
Yeah.
Their shit is gone because, I mean, your major exchange infrastructures are operating with supercomputers and things, exchanging money like 1 billion times a second.
Yeah.
You know, anybody who's making money nowadays is all computers.
Just algorithm.
Yeah. It's all the algorithm.
Damn, that makes me think.
No place for humans in that world anymore.
Damn. That's kind of crazy to think, but man, I was gonna talk about what. Fuck, I totally lost my point, train of thought. But it had to do with something like, what was it? Okay, go back to your last one. I'm like,
what, with the foreign exchange rates?
Yeah.
There's.
Oh yeah. So maybe we can talk about this at some other point. But there's this idea about the economy being. So there actually is a role of that physicists played in this. Physics and scientists played in modernizing the Wall Street in a sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Wall Street just took those risk-taking guys, those guys that do coke and shit, and just like Wolf of Wall Street type guys.
The Wall Street yuppies
that were based off of making decisions on intuition as opposed to mathematics, right? So they're actually physicists and scientists and mathematicians as well. They had a role to play in this modern sense of like the AI. And also there's a lot of thought about how our economy is, right? So our economy is a very complicated system, and there are some physicists that try to model the economy as in a statistically mechanical way.
Mm-hmm.
So meaning that it sort of followed thermodynamical rules.
Okay.
And there's this field called
economics,
thermoeconomics or something like that. I mean, I would call it statistical economics. But,
okay.
Which makes a little bit more sense. I think they moved away from that's why they moved away from thermodynamics to statistical mechanics.
Okay.
But yeah, like maybe we can talk about that. They use what the logic of that is. What are these people that are studying thermoeconomics really doing?
Oof, that sounds like a hard topic to try to jump into with no research.
What are they trying to do? That's kind of sounds like bullshit, doesn't it?
I mean, well, this is the thing. I know that a lot of times one of the beauties of mathematics is you might have some equation that's developed for, let's say, thermodynamics that is completely a comparable, or let's say equivalent system to something in economics. We see this all the time. Some equation that you're just like, how the fuck does this apply to this system?
Yeah.
System A has this equation, but then system B uses the exact same equation.
Yeah.
So I could definitely see that. And maybe they came up with the name thermoeconomics just from that, because perhaps, this is all me talking on my ass right now, perhaps there were formulas in that for that economic model that they took from thermodynamics, and they fit very nice with those models. So that would be my understanding of why that is, but I have no clue because I know nothing about this.
No, that's why. We're going to digest this information and regurgitate it into your mouth like a baby bird.
And also, we're coming on about 59 minutes. Let's go ahead and wrap her up.
This is about time, right? Guys and gals, Eigenbros and Eigenkets out there. Thanks for listening. Right,
I call them Eigenbros and Eigenhoes.
I respect women. No, so yeah, no, we got a lot of. Terrence was telling me we got a lot of views in this last video. If you made it this far, thank you.
You're truly a dedicated listener.
You truly are a fan, and
we're going to be doing big things in the future, though. Getting more organized, expanding.
Leave us ideas to kind of digest and sort of talk about. Like right now, we have ideas about like sounding off on like quantum mechanics.
Yeah, we've got some things in the cooker right now.
Yeah.
We've been a little scattered this week because our schedules have been a little busy.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you guys have any videos you want to see in the future, just by all means leave them in the comments, and we'll definitely take a look.
Yeah, for sure.
And perhaps we'll even be able to make one in the future.
Hell, we can keep talking about UFOs if that's what y'all like. You know?
Yeah.
UFO shit. But yeah, man. Should we have like an official outro thing?
We'll do all that at some point.
Because right now it's always been fucking this guy. Oh wait, no, not that one.
Wrong video.
Oh, whatever.
That does not apply right now.
Yeah, it does not. It does not. What about this one?
A Mozart? I like the Mozart. I actually think we should keep the Mozart as our intro, maybe.
Oh, okay. So this one, this, what is it called?
Eine kleine Nachtmusik. A
There
little
you
bit
go.
of night music.
Boom. Maybe that's a good way to end it. Maybe just a little bit of Mozart.
Sure.
Just jamming out. Yeah.
Jamie, pull that video up.